Welcome. This is a redo of What If Deku Was a Tenno from Warframe, Part 1. I personally think it's a lot better without my voice narrating. I only own the story here and do not own anything else. I advise against suggestions as this What If is already at the fight between All Might and All for One. If at all this story sounds or is similar to another person's, please note that I did come up with what I typed myself. Next What If will be a Naruto one. Please enjoy. In this What If, Deku is a well-established Tenno. For story's sake he will have one of every warframe and weapon on his ship set aside from Umbra. He and his crew have just finished an intelligence-gathering mission on a Corpus ship that was orbiting Pluto and had discovered that the Corpus had planned to enter the void with a fleet of 20 or so ships using an experimental ring-like facility in an attempt to acquire Orokin technology. Deku and his crew decided they couldn't let that happen and began an infiltration and sabotage mission to thwart the Corpus plan. Their mission went without a hitch until Phase 2 when they were forced to retreat to Deku's railjack and continue the fight over the planet. The battle was long and grueling, but through teamwork and some dumb luck they had won and began to depart on their only sets when the Corpus activated their fail-safe. Deku's Cephalon, who we'll name Inko, had gotten high power readings as well as multiple overload signatures and had relayed this info to Deku. The readings showed that Pluto's surface would suffer a near-extinction level event if the ring facility were to detonate too close. And there was no telling how many Tenno were currently deployed there. And the rest of his team had already left. With his heroic selfless nature forcing him to act, he got back to his railjack and entered the pilot apparatus, pushing his ship to maximum velocity in an attempt to push the Corpus facility away from the planet. Inko had contacted Deku over his comms, asking him to stop for his own safety. Deku attempted to disconnect the set from the railjack, telling his Cephalon to head back and continue to assist the Tenno cause. And that a Master Tenno should always strive to protect others at any cost. Inko short-circuited the connector so she could stay with her operator. She said that she has already sent a message filled with all the info they had accumulated as well as the current situation and what they were attempting to do. Then she said, "No matter what, you are my operator, and I am your Cephalon. I will not leave your side." Deku sighed and said one last thank you as the Corpus facility detonated. A strange disturbance could be felt by every Tenno as the void almost quivered from the Corpus device attempting to breach it. The Tenno High Council received the message, and after an investigation, a statue was erected of argon and prisma crystals in the image of Deku with his favorite scythe saw in a protective pose on Pluto. At the base of the statue was a slab that read, "To the newly named Grand Master Tenno Izuku Midoriya, who with his Cephalon gave their lives to protect Pluto and all who were on it during that dark cycle." We cut to Deku's Warframe. A mostly green atlas, with white and black trim. After a while he looked around to see his railjack had lost all power. Worried about Inko, Deku disconnected from his frame and woke in the set. He had to force the door open to access the rest of the ship. Upon accessing maintenance, Deku got the power back on and waited nervously. Inko never had to go through anything like this to his knowledge. After a few minutes Inko had spoken in a stuttering voice, "Operator." This was no doubt due to the power fluctuating after he restarted the system. "I'm here, Inko. Are you all right?" "Why yes, operator, all systems at 70% and rising." "Inko, can you scan for our location?" "Yes. One moment." "Strange. What is it, Inko? I'm not getting any signal from other Tenno." "We could have a damaged receiver." "Negative. Receiver at 100%. The only signals I can get are basic communication and what appears to be radio signals." "Perform a terrain scan. I'll get back in my frame to have a look around." "Affirmative, operator. Be careful." "I will." Upon transferring back to his Atlas frame, he disconnected from the pilot apparatus and made his way to the aft airlocks. After initiating the manual release, Deku pops out to the side of a forest. The area had been damaged from his railjack and Lee set crashing down. Deku tells Inko over comms that he thinks they somehow crash-landed on Earth. Yes, scans of the stars above show signs of a high probability of being on Earth, but plant signatures are of those that haven't been seen for decades. Can you connect to the railjack and scan for damage? We need to get to orbit to tell for sure. Yes, operator. I'll begin the assessment at once. Is my archwing intact? Yes. Shall I deploy it? Yeah. I'm going to look for any signs of civilization. Operator, I believe you should remain unseen. There's no telling how local civilizations may react. Don't worry, I'll fly high. After Deku takes off, Inko begins to fix both ships and listens in for any information she can get. Deku is flying high and catches a glimpse of what looks to be a city and begins to fly to it. Operator, I have concluded that the beings of this area speak an old language known as Japanese. I'm recalibrating your mental translator to speak and understand the language. Thank you, Inko. What would I do without you? Probably be in some grinier experimental science facility. Really? Not even Corpus, you wound me, Inko. Inko had an audible chuckle over the comms. Deku had started observing the citizens and their technology, noticing some weird differences in appearance and ability of each individual. Operator. I've discovered a planet-wide network of information. I'm combing it now. Make sure you can't be traced. I don't believe these people have technology anywhere close to ours, so I doubt I can be tracked. We should remain out of sight though. Who knows what they might do to get our level of tech. I've discovered something. This is indeed Earth, but it seems the humans of this world have developed powers known as quirks. Is that why there's such a difference between some people? Yes. That is usually caused by what's called a mutation quirk. The humans of this Earth have also created what they call a hero society, in which the average human child with a quirk strong enough can train and learn to become a hero, who is tasked and paid to uphold the law, similar to a law enforcement unit. The so-called villains are those that break their laws. There also seems to be a popularity factor for heroes. The current top hero is a male with super strength and super speed known as All Might. Do heroes have a lot of pull in their government? Not exactly, but they do have a lot of pull with the people. Would I be able to blend in with the general public? Yes. And most of what you can do as a Tenno would pass as one of their so-called quirks. Operator, do you plan to become a hero in an attempt to gather information? Yes. Operator, by my analysis your body is most comparable to a middle schooler. We would have to get you into a school with a false background, and on top of that you would at least need one parental figure as well. Then it's time for you to activate that capsule in my personal quarters. But you always tell me to avoid doing anything in there. That's because that capsule was always meant to be a gift for you, but I never finished the combat capabilities. Operator, you know how you always wanted to join me on the battlefield? Well, I basically made you a fully functional body. It's almost as strong as a Warframe and has internal hardware capable of housing you. Upload how you want your body to look, keeping in mind that you'll need to pass as my mother. Operator. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. You have basically been like a mother to me, and I wanted to make you something you would like. As Inko had started to create her new body, Deku was flying over a nearby city when he saw some people fighting each other in the middle of a street. A man in black clothing with what seemed to be a teleportation quirk captured a child in the gathering crowd. The man with flames coming out of his face stopped in place. That's right. Any sudden moves and the girl dies. You damn coward. Deku disconnected from his archwing and slammed into the ground not 4 feet from the villain. What the he? Before the man could finish his sentence, Deku used his Atlas's first ability, and before anyone could blink, the villain was sent flying to the ground with the little girl pulled from his grasp unharmed. Deku put the child on the ground, and as he stood up from putting her down, he was swarmed by many people asking him who he was and what his quirk is. Endeavor, being the one in front, is just asking him who he is. Deku just leaped into the air, reconnecting to his archwing. As everyone just looks in awe, Deku flies off at top speed. He goes into the clouds, going high enough to make sure he can't be followed. Operator, do you think that was a wise idea? I know. But you know me. I can't stand by while someone needs my help. That's always been obvious, even before you were willing to give your life to save half a planet. Yeah. I'm going to fly around a bit more to ensure that I'm not being followed, then I'll head back. Affirmative, operator. Inko, you'll be posing as my mother, so you should start calling me by my name. Why yes, OP. I mean, Izuku. See, it's not so bad, and I'll be calling you mom or mother from now on. After a while, Deku had finally returned to the crash site to be greeted with light coming from both ships. Good to see they're both still functional. Sorry, Oper. She paused as Izuku let out a sigh over comms. Izuku. The Lee-set is fully operational, but the rail jack needs some repair. And since I kind of fried the latch connecting them, neither are space-worthy. Do we have the resources to fix them? We have enough to fix the rail jack, but without fixing the connector it will be hard to get them into orbit. I see. Please scan for possible viable options for the connector. Already underway. I've also finished the mock body you made for me. Sweet, but we'll need to figure out some sort of quirk for your disguise. By my analysis, 20% of the world's population are quirkless. That would draw attention. I could pass off my vast knowledge as an intellectual quirk. That will work. As Deku gets into his Lee-set, Inko is standing there, her appearance the same as in canon before Deku was deemed quirkless in the anime. You look perfect, Mom. Inko blushes a bit as she is still not used to being called that. Thank you, Izuku. See. You're getting the hang of it? I've taken the liberty of creating a false identity for us and inputting that information into a nation that wasn't as well off as others, allowing a more believable origin point. Our current status is citizens that have recently just arrived. What about our housing situation? I've listed us as mobile living. I've also signed you up to an average middle school as a 3rd year. What did you list my quirk as? I simply designated it as energy manipulation. You start in a few planet cycles. Got it? Any news on possible resources? Yes. I've tracked down some resources being shipped against this nation's laws since you're such a goody-goody. Great. Do what you can to keep law enforcement and heroes away from the area and prepare my Ivra. Prime or Standard? Standard. I don't want any real Warframe power being captured if I fail, so I'll wait till I've gotten a good understanding of how the people of this world operate. Mission Salvage Rescue. We left off with Izuku and Inko being transported to a new unfamiliar Earth filled with people who possess special powers and abilities called quirks. And after some time and hacking they've acquired identities to blend in and the location of sophisticated enough resources and technology to repair their railjack. We now continue with Deku attached to his archwing in his Ivra Warframe, quickly moving under the water to the ship these parts and materials were being smuggled in on. Deku checks his scanner to ensure there aren't any life signs and quickly detaches from his archwing and climbs on board. I've marked the location of the necessary components. Thanks, Mom. Why, you're welcome, dear. Deku had made his way to some storage containers using Ivara's third ability to remain invisible while picking the guards' pockets for the keys. As he found what he needed, he quickly transferred the components to his ship and started to leave when he picked up on multiple life signs in another container. Deku informed Inko of this and decided to investigate. Upon opening the container, Deku came face to face with huge tubes containing buff human bird-like creatures with their brains showing. Deku was very glad he couldn't be seen. Inko. Are these things people? Hard to say. I'd require a scan. Okay. After what we know as a Nomu was scanned, Inko had informed Deku that it appears to have been a normal human at one point, but its very genetic makeup had been changed and modified. There are people like the Orokin everywhere I go, it seems. Just then the boat was violently struck and swayed side to side. Inko, what's going on? Unknown. I recommend immediate evacuation. All right. I'm on the move. As Deku made his way back to the area he got up on, gouts of fire and explosions became more and more frequent. Reports are coming in. The second strongest hero Endeavor is currently engaged in battle against a villain with a bomb creation quirk. Are civilians nearby? Yes. There are still civilians who need to evacuate. Give me the locations of all civilians too close to the battle. There are too many. I recommend assisting in taking out the villain without being seen. All right. Deku turns invisible and uses Ivara's fourth ability to summon the Artemis Bow in unison with Ivara's second ability to guide arrows to hit the bombs the villain makes back at him. Endeavor notices but doesn't have time to speculate as he now has an opening. With the villain unable to get attacks in without injuring himself, Endeavor ends the fight quickly with a strong heat-powered punch, knocking him out. Once the fight ended, Endeavor tied up the criminal and began to search for where the arrows came from. As he started to search the boat, an arrow struck one of the storage crates. Endeavor looks for where it came from but to no avail. He decided to retrieve the arrow to have it analyzed for DNA or fingerprints when he saw that there was a note tied to it. The note had only 2 sentences, inside the crate, and they are not human anymore. Upon opening the crate, Endeavor was appalled at the sight. If what the note had said was true, then these things were obviously experimented on. Endeavor would make a point to inform the smartest person he knew about this new discovery. Not just about the Nomus but the unknown archer and that robot guy as well. Anime start. Deku had made it back with what they needed to fully repair the rail jack connector. After doing so, Deku disconnected the rail jack from the Lisette, and they flew them both out of the atmosphere and into orbit, making sure to avoid being sighted. Inko flew the Lisette and Deku was flying the rail jack. Once they got into orbit, they reconnected the ships and Deku got back into the Lisette. Inko informed Deku that there was only one more planet cycle till his school time started. All right. Can you give me a rundown of this planet's history as well as current events? I need to not seem like an idiot. Yes, operator. Mother. Yes. Izuku. The day had come, and Deku was in the principal's office getting his schedule. Everything was going great till his class actually started. Deku was asked to wait for the teacher to introduce him. As the class was assembled and quieted, the teacher announced that a new student was joining them for the rest of the year. Please introduce yourself to the class. As Deku walks in, hello. My name is Izuku Midoriya. I hope we can all get along. Typical extra. Bet you don't even have a decent quirk. The rest of the class starts to get interested and asks Deku what his quirk is. My quirk is energy manipulation. My body naturally produces an energy that I can manipulate to do things from firing it as a laser, healing minor injuries, or becoming intangible. The one we all know as Bakugo is now a bit pissed that someone in his class may have a quirk almost. if not as powerful as his, due to the rest of the class immediately praising Deku for such a powerful, useful, and flashy quirk. I guess it's pretty good, but my explosions are far better than some weird energy. Explosions. That's right. My quirk's going to make me the future #1 hero, even better than All Might. You'll all be lucky to make it as some B-list hero's sidekick. The class immediately started to boo Bakugo when they stopped, hearing Deku audibly laughing. What's so funny, glowing eyes? That's right, everything about Deku's look is the same aside from his eyes emitting a white glow. And this Deku has fought in wars, so he is not afraid to fight. Oh. Nothing. Just that you, a walking terrorist with an attitude, is going to be the #1 hero. What was that? I'll kick your ass. The teacher immediately chimes in as Bakugo has started releasing explosions from his hands. Bakugo. No quirk usage in school, and Midoriya, this is not appropriate behavior. Alright. Just give me a seat and make sure he doesn't start anything with me. The whole class was a bit taken back by the fact that the new kid went from nice to hostile in the blink of an eye. After class, Bakugo found Deku walking and started to approach with his 2 lackeys in tow. You want to run that comment by me again, glow eyes? You, the big bad strong explosion guy, needs a squad for 1 guy. They're only here because beating your ass into the ground would be a waste of my time. The 2 boys on either side of Bakugo began to draw closer to Deku. I'm warning you. Try it and you'll be on the ground. Some of the kids from class are beginning to take notice and start to watch. Oh, really, small fry? One of the boys uttered. In a flash of light, Deku disappeared and reappeared in front of them, blasting them with a weak void blast. Enough to send them back a few feet and wind them. What? Bakugo didn't even see Deku move, and now his henchmen were down and out. The kids watching were amazed and began pulling out their phones and started to record. So, want to leave now? Why you? Bakugo rushes at Deku and is immediately met with a weak void shot, doing the same to him as Deku did to his lackeys. Deku walks off and people begin to spread the word that the new kid is way stronger than Bakugo.